told me to be quiet. Did you believe that? She told me to be quiet. She's yelling at me now. Hello and welcome. We are delighted to have as our guest Jennifer Revels, who is going to be talking about the powwow, which will be happening this September. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that, a little bit about the Lumbee tribe, a little bit about Guilford Native American Association, a little bit about everything. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, John. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today.
Give us the dates, give us the times, tell us what's happening about the powwow.
So our 46th annual powwow will be held this year, September the 15th, 16th, and 17th at Greensboro Country Park. And our powwow is one of the oldest and ongoing arts festivals, cultural festivals in the city of Greensboro.
Awesome, awesome. Tell us about what's going to be happening. I understand there's music, dancing. Give us a little intro as to that.
Yes, so our powwow is a traditional gathering. It's kind of like a homecoming celebration where we invite folks from all walks of life to come in and join us for these 3 days. And what you will see when you enter our gates is a beautiful dance arena, and surrounded by the arena will be over 40 arts and crafts vendors. We will have 6 food vendors selling traditional native foods, and the arts and crafts vendors will have all sorts of beautiful artwork, which is all original, and they will also be demonstrating their craft at the same time. And the central part of the powwow is the dance arena, starting with our babies category, our tiny tots, and all the way up to what we refer to as the golden age, our elders, and everything in between. We will have different dance categories, different styles of dance, where men and women and children will compete against one another. And we also will have several drum groups there. And all of these dancers and the drum groups and the arts and crafts vendors travel this time of year, which we call powwow season, from all over the country to powwows throughout the U.S. And we will have folks here from all over, particularly the southeast region, representing different tribes, and we're really excited about it this year.
Tell us about the different kinds of dances that we can see here.
So we start out, a lot of our dances are the traditional men and women's, which is more of a slower pace of dance. And then we move into what we call the show-offs of the powwow circuit, our fancy men and women's dance. It's a lot, we refer to it lots of times as Indian aerobics. It's very fast-paced. The footwork is very intricate. The ladies dance with shawls draped across their shoulders, and they're being judged on their regalia. You will not see any of the regalias identical to one another, because the regalias actually represent the person wearing them. You will also see most all of our dancers, with the exception of the children, adorned with eagle feathers, whether it be a lady carrying a fan or a man with a fan, or bustles attached to the back of the men's of their backside. And these eagle feathers are very sacred and special, and we, oftentimes no one has the opportunity to get that close to eagle feathers, and it's a big part of our culture and our heritage, in that eagle feathers are considered to be the highest honor when presented to someone that you can receive in the Native American culture. So we We'll have a really good time. We invite our spectators and guests to come in and do intertribal dancing with us, where they can actually, learn some of our dances. This year, in addition to our powwow on Friday from 8:30 till 2, we will host our Education Day Cultural Festival, and that will be for kindergarten through 5th graders, and we're really excited about that because it gives us an opportunity to teach and share our history and our culture with our young children, their teachers, administrators, and parents alike, and get a firsthand experience of what our heritage is all about.
You mentioned that. Why is it so important to have events like this, to have the Guilford Native American Association, and to have for folks to learn about culture like this?
Well, oftentimes we are written in terms of history, just historically, as if we're no longer around. And of course, being in an urban community like Greensboro, and we recognize that on the day-to-day, most children will go to school and they may never meet a Native American child or peer. They see very few Native American teachers and educators. We serve, our agency, the Guilford Native American Association, serves over 6,500 Native American people in 11 counties of the Piedmont Triad. But that they're all spread out, and we're still, the minority in terms of numbers here in this community. So it's really important that we, come together and showcase these traditions that are still alive and well and being passed on to the next generation. Oftentimes we refer to the phrase, "we're still here," because so frequently, especially children, if it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, and it's more than just reading about our history in a textbook.
And tell me about the, we talked about the eagle feathers. There's a real honor when it comes to animals and nature, and I understand that every part of the animal is sacred.
Absolutely.
Can you give me some more context on that?
So the way I was brought up is that we live on Mother Earth, and we have a responsibility to leave this place for the next 7 generations. And that's something that we take very seriously, and understanding that it matters, the relationship we have to the land and to our 4-legged creatures, our winged creatures, and our water creatures, and to interact in a way that we are not wasteful. And historically, many tribes, or really all tribes, relied, as all people did, on different animals as a food source. For example, in the Plains tribes, they would use every part of a buffalo, the hide, the bones to make tools for different reasons, and they would travel. That's where the teepee came from. When the buffalo moved, so did the Plains tribes. They relocated along with the buffalo because that was a primary food source. And today, you will see at our powwow dancers adorned in many different types of animal skins, but it's not something that we do in a wasteful way just to say we have it. It's something that is deep-seated in our history and in our cultural upbringing, and we do honor all of these different creatures. The eagle, we recognize that, as for all of us as American citizens, it is an endangered species. The government, when it became on the endangered species list, there was an effort to take the eagle feathers from Native people, and that was something that all of the tribes came together and really educated the larger society as to why these feathers were so important. For example, we do not sell these feathers. They are gifted. They are passed down through generations for earning a great deed. Many of our children, for example, when they walk across the stage at their high school graduations, will have an eagle feather hanging from their cap. And that is a testimony to their hard work and efforts. Many of our families, we're still seeing the first college graduate in a family. So certainly that is a high honor and achievement, and we wear these feathers with great pride, but they are passed down through families and through ceremonies, which you will see at our powwow, where we will gift an individual or a family with an eagle feather.
And back to the powwow, you talked about the competition, and can you tell me about, does everybody design their own? Like you said, it was individualized for each
Yes.
person.
So even with our children, when my children were young and dancing, I sat down with them, and unfortunately I am not a talented artist. I'm fiercely supportive of our artists. That is not a gift that I possess, so I have very close friends and family members that have made all of my children's regalias in addition to mine. And my son, for example, when he was 3 years old, he loved Winnie the Pooh. He's now grown and considers himself a big, football guy kind of guy, so he may be a little upset with me for sharing this, but he loved Winnie the Pooh. So we refer to this as walking in two worlds, recognizing that our children live in this society with everyone, and we encourage them to, excel, to explore and try different activities. And but in doing so, I had a grass outfit made for him. That is a dance style, the grass dance, and that dance emulates the plains, the grasses of the prairies, and how they flowed back and forth. And of course, you're judged based on how well you resemble that. And so his moccasins, all of his outfit recognized Winnie the Pooh. So my daughter, on the other hand, when she was young, she loved hearts and butterflies. The fancy shawl dance is often referred to as the butterfly dance. And as they move their shawls up and down, they are again resembling the butterfly in flight. And so her outfit, she loved the colors pink and turquoise blue. So that's what we did with her outfit. It was adorned with butterflies and hearts and those colors. And I have a Lumbee regalia, and I had my Lumbee regalia made by Cat Little Turtle.
Wow.
And she, when we met to discuss, what I wanted in particular on my regalia, my father had just passed, and he was a member of the 82nd Airborne, and I wanted to pay tribute to my father with my regalia. So in the center of the Lumbee patchwork was an 82nd Airborne patch.
Wow, wow.
That's incredible.
That is. When you said Cat Little Turtle, and I know Brian had some questions too about the lost colony, but the idea of the importance of the animals to the Native Americans, that's not lost on a lot of us that didn't grow up in that. And I say that in the sense, I think that is, you guys were on the cusp of conservation when it came to
Absolutely.
animals and the land. And I think we're starting to maybe learn the lesson with the climate change
Sure.
from the
Sure.
Native Americans.
Sure. Yes, oftentimes we're referred to as the first environmentalist, conservationist, and it's something that we feel strongly. Again, the powwow events like our powwow offer that opportunity to educate everyone as to why we personally feel it's so important to, just pay respect to our Mother Earth, and to, if we choose to hunt, choose to fish, that we don't waste, that we do it, for the right reasons, for a food source, for, shelter, and as we did for all these many years. So you will definitely see a number of unique things like that at our powwow. For example, we have buffalo burgers, foods that most people, as particularly here in the Triad, would never have the opportunity to sample if unless they attended a traditional Native gathering like our powwow.
Hey, we're going to be there at the powwow. We'll be out with the camera. And John, you're going to come with me? Or
Absolutely.
We're going to go out. We're gonna probably harass some people out
Well,
there.
yeah, we'll have to, well, they may call it that.
They may call it that. I was just kidding.
But we
Use
definitely
that term
want.
loosely.
Yeah, we definitely want to cover it because this is something that you just, well, it comes once a year, but it's something on a day-to-day basis that we need our viewers to know about.
Oh, absolutely. And for example, in preparation for the powwow, our children in the Piedmont Triad area, who from tiny tots, from children who are just starting to walk, they will be in our cultural class every Tuesday evening here at the Cultural Center, and learning their dances and singing their songs and listening to the drum, and and then they'll turn around and go to ballet class, and or
Right.
go play football, and that's why we refer to it walking in two worlds with success, being able to participate in activities that all young people enjoy, but also at any given moment switch gears and put on their traditional regalia and go into that dance arena and sing their songs and dance their dances.
Obviously, a lot of planning goes into this. How far ahead have you been planning?
Oh, as the next day. Monday we refer to as an indigenous holiday following the powwow, and we do take that day off because a 3-day event such as this is a lot of work for a small group of folks. But we do pretty much start right away planning. We are now in the thick of powwow season, not only in North Carolina, but throughout the United States. So many of the dancers and vendors will be traveling on to the next powwow here in North Carolina and be coming from a powwow here in North Carolina. There are 8 recognized tribes in the state of North Carolina, and 4 urban Indian centers like Guilford Native American Association, and each of them host an annual powwow.
Wow.
Some are small, and just this past weekend, the Dix Park powwow was held in Raleigh, and that's the 3rd annual powwow. So they, have been doing it a few years for the folks over in the Triangle area. The Lumbee tribe of North Carolina and the Halawasaponi tribe and the Eastern Band of Cherokee host the largest powwows in their tribal communities. But it's really a lot of fun because these dancers and arts and crafts vendors, many of them camp. They have their RVs or their tents, and it's a way of life. Many of them homeschool their children, so it's their everyday way of life. And again, with so much going on in our world, it's not something that you typically see on the evening news or would know about without the support of a lot of business folks in the community, private foundations, folks like you. The City of Greensboro co-sponsors our powwow, and we're really grateful to them. They've been assisting us for many years. And we have
Where will it be this year?
It's at Greensboro Country Park, right off of Pisgah Church and Battleground. The entrance is at Lewis Community Center. right by J.C.
Right.
Park. And we have golf carts that will shuttle everyone in. If you have, a handicap placard or are an elder, we allow you to drive right into the site. But it's a beautiful setting tucked away at Country Park, off the beaten track. And we have been there for a number of years. And on Saturday evening, we're excited this year, we have received approval to have a fire in our dance arena. And we will have several honorings, one being Mr. Dalton Lynch, who is a member of the Hallawasaponi tribe and who has been our arena director for many years, passed away suddenly about a month ago. And he was very much beloved in his tribal community, but we also considered him and his wife, Sonora Lynch, very talented artists, as part of our family here at Guilford Native. So we will be honoring him at a special that we will be hosting during the powwow. And one of the nice things is our Master of Ceremonies this year is Mr. Keith Colston, and he is lives in Baltimore now, member of the Lumbee tribe, and he will be joining us. And as he speaks on the mic, he will be sharing a lot of the stories and of what's taking place for our audience, so they can keep up and understand, all of the different ceremonies that we will hold, and that makes it, really special, because it's one thing to attend a powwow, but you want to leave with some knowledge and a better understanding. So he does a really wonderful job, and we will be hosting an Every Child Matters special, and this is a time where an individual, and this year Mr. Stephen Bell, who is the Guilford County Indian Education Coordinator, he will be hosting the special. And Every Child Matters is the name of the movement with our boarding schools. As we all know and have heard over the last several years about the Indian boarding schools and the tragic history there, we want to keep, that conversation going and have any of the remains of those children, whether it be here in the United States or in Canada, return to their tribal communities for proper burial. And so that brings awareness by hosting this special, in addition to honoring our young people here in the Guilford Native area. So those are different types of events that we will be hosting within the powwow.
Is there a Native American section for a cemetery, or how?
Well, each tribal community has their own cemeteries. Many of our people are in rural communities, our tribes, and unlike people of all races, they have family cemeteries, which my family does as well. But that's interesting that you asked. Back in the early 40s and 50s, many of the Lumbee families, in search of better job opportunities, relocated by train to Claxton, Georgia. There were several hundred families that took all their possessions.
Fruitcake capital of the...
Well, it's also the turpentine capital
Okay.
of the country, and they heard that there were great jobs, better paying jobs there, and so several families, including my grandmother's family, and they settled in Claxton and worked in the turpentine factories, and of course disease broke out. Many of the children were passed away, and several years ago, probably 20 years ago, a gentleman who was clearing some land on his farm uncovered a Lumbee cemetery. And it was really exciting for us because, in fact, my grandparents, which is just means so much to me, were able to travel along with a group of Lumbees to Claxton. And the gentleman was so kind that he has now allowed us to clean up the cemetery, clean off the gravestones, and put a fence around it. And every year, many of the Lumbees make a pilgrimage to Claxton to pay honor and tribute to those whose lives, were there in that area.
I know, Brian, we were going to have this first segment is going to be strictly for the powwow.
We want to have you back on because I really wanted to get into the Native American, the Lumbee tribe, and some of the history in there. But we want to get this thing on. We want it to be a half hour because normally we do this program as an hour, but we want to fit this thing in to get the word out as quickly as possible.
As soon as possible.
Sure.
As soon as possible for this. But we would really love to dig in to some more of this stuff and the history of everything, of the dynamic of your family and everything. And,
like I said, local royalty as far as
I could tell you, when I first got here, I moved here from New Jersey, and I got this job when I was 22, and I was told to find these Community Voices project, put this thing together. So I started editing this, and this was like the most wonderful thing. This was like the greatest way to learn about the community ever. And one of the people I learned about, one of the people in those interviews was Lonnie Revels. And one of the things I remember, he argued with everybody. And I've never forgotten that. He argued if you were Democrat, he argued as a Republican.
That's right.
If you
It
were
did not
Republican,
matter.
if you're, the other way, it didn't matter who you were, he was going to argue. And he's
You
like,
got
this
to
is
know
how I
him
learned
well.
to debate
Yes,
early on.
yes.
Because he felt like he wasn't that great of a debater, so he just figured he would just give it to you either way. He didn't care
Absolutely.
who you were. And that's how he learned to debate. And I was just like,
and
man,
Apple didn't fall far from the tree over there, I just tell you.
Well,
But
I have been accused of being a little bit like him.
Well, and I will point out, Mr. Revels was the first Native American to graduate from Wake Forest. So
He was actually the second.
Yeah.
But the first was his cousin, his first cousin, which was highly unusual. They grew up extremely poor from an all-Indian community. So, yeah, he was the second graduate.
but I'm proud of that.
Yeah, he talks about his time in Robertson County. We're still airing that program.
Yeah.
If you have a chance, if you haven't seen it, stay tuned. Keep turning on this channel to take a look at that interview and ones like it. George Simpkins
Yes.
and Judge Fry and his wife Shirley. There's a lot of interviews on there, but Lonnie Revels is a fantastic.
And we
interview.
have
And you could tell in that. I'm sorry, John.
No, go ahead.
You could tell in that interview he's holding back. He's biting
Yes.
a little bit. He's trying to be so. He's trying to put his nice face on the whole thing,
Yes,
and
yes.
he's doing a great job of it. But
Yeah.
when I'm just editing it, you watch it like 3-4 times, you start to see the little details in his.
Yeah.
All right, Sanjay's giving us the wrap up cue. Give us one more time this.
Time.
The 46th powwow.
Yes, sir.
46. That's a lot.
46 years. Greensboro Country Park, September the 15th through the 17th. Gates open on Friday at 5 o'clock. Bring your lawn chair and blanket. We will have bleachers available, an elder's tent, and a tent set up for handicapped folks. And we welcome everyone to come and join us.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it greatly.
Thank you for watching our program.